Okay, so what I'd like to do is just share with you some of the things that Intel is doing within the wearable space. We recognize that this is a fantastic market opportunity. We do think it's redefining computing. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Is this a clicker? Okay. And firstly, let me introduce myself. So I work within a new team at Intel. We've only been going for about 3 to 4 months. Our focus is wearable technology and also the Internet of Things. Today I'm here to focus pretty much on wearable technologies, but we'll touch on the Internet of Things. My role is within EMEA, is to work with the ecosystem, work with partners to bring products to market, but also when we have products that are coming to market, to really focus on creating demand for those products. So ecosystem development and also creating demand for the products when they do hit the marketplace. So that's my personal role. Okay. Firstly, just to say, I'm calling this the new frontier of computing. We really do think this is a new frontier. The opportunities within wearable computing to impact our lives, change our lives, enrich our lives, and I will touch a little bit on the privacy issue and security issue later, but they are phenomenal. There's also a huge market opportunity. And at Intel, we want to be a pioneer within this space, so you'll see that we're already quite active. And you'll see us be more active and announce more products in the future. We also want to be a partner within this space. So at Intel, we're not about bringing end products to the market. We are about partnering and being the product inside that end device. And then the final point is we do want to be an industry leader, and that's why we're getting in early. You know, we're having these types of conversations. We're engaging with the broad startup developer community to make sure that we can help bring innovation to market and find those big winners for the future. So that's really our role. Okay, so hopefully, I mean, the purpose of that is not to say, you know, those products are in development or that those are the products that we're working on right now. It's really to give a vision of what could be possible. We actually put that together because at the moment we're running a competition, which is the Make It Wearable competition. We have $1.3 million of prizes behind this competition. At the end of the presentation, assuming I can get through it in 30 minutes, I'm going to come back to that. And actually the website that we've created for that shows other examples, and what we're trying to do is to really get people thinking and to stimulate ideas about what could be possible within the wearable industry. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just bring it a little bit more back to reality. I think we're all very aware of the products that are in the marketplace today. And this is data by ABI Research. There's other forecasts out in the marketplace. This could be 50% adrift in terms of the volume numbers. Actually, as I'm going to point out in a minute, we think we're very, very much at the early stage of wearable computing. So actually these forecasts you can take with an element of a pinch of salt, I think. But certainly, you know, if we look at 2013, it's predominantly sports activity trackers. We've seen the introduction of smartwatches. It's also healthcare activity. And as we move out into the future, we see increasing use of smart glasses, smart clothing, and so on. And the reason for showing this is those are the products that really are in market today, where we start to see sales out. Actually, the sales out figures there for 2013, also the forecast for 2014 are probably pretty accurate. So certainly if we look back at what happened last year. So certainly this gives you a sense of what's in the marketplace today. But like I said, we're very much at the start of the market. So take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt, but that's really what's happening today. So what's Intel doing in this space? At CES, I don't know how many of you had the pleasure of going to CES. This is a picture of our CEO, Brian Krzanich. At CES, there was a huge amount of energy, a huge amount of buzz about wearable tech, you know, across multiple stands, multiple companies. And what we did is we showcased some reference designs at CES. We showcased a smartwatch reference design. We showcased some smart earbuds. We also showcased what's held up in the hand here, which was Jarvis, which is an always-on, always connected, smart personal assistant. We also showed a charging bowl, because of course some of these products need to be regularly charged. And what we were trying to do there was to basically show that Intel is embracing the marketplace, developing reference designs, and trying to make sure that the industry understood that Intel was, was very interested in this marketplace. But what we've realized is we're very much at the earlier stage of wearable technology. This stimulated a huge amount of interest from companies. We were awash with interest about how we could work with different brands, different companies. In many instances, it could be for the actual reference design itself, but actually in most cases it was companies that recognized the opportunity that wearables have for their brands and for their markets. And we've seen a huge amount of interest, and what's becoming clear to us is, we're really at the earlier stage of the development in this marketplace. And like I said, Intel wants to be a pioneer, a partner, and lead in this space. I think this is pretty clear to people. So what we're really seeing is an evolution of computing. Without giving too much away about my age, I started studying on computers around about this space here. But we moved from big desktop computers through to mobile laptop computing, tablets, smartphones, and we've been repeatedly shrinking the technology. At the same time, though, increasing the performance, reducing the power requirement. And what that's doing is that constant evolution of computing is enabling smaller, sleeker, more capable devices. And I'm going to come on to Intel's role in that marketplace. But clearly, we're getting down to a point where we can put computing into extremely small wearable devices, but actually into a broad range of smart objects that are around you today, and in the future, this broader Internet of Things, smart objects connecting with wearable devices, and that's really the development of IoT. And this constant shrinking of technology is really enabling that. And really it's allowing almost everything to become connected. This could be existing objects. It could be anything from air conditioning units that are suddenly becoming smart. It could be smart buildings, smart cities, smart cars, and it can be wearable technology. And what we're seeing is we're now able to, through the shrinking of computing, we're able to enable many smart connected devices that are sort of objects all around us today. You can see obviously an image of an automation example there. And that takes me on just to this. I just wanted to highlight the bigger opportunity, if you like. The forecast for wearables earlier from ABI was that around about 2020 there'd be close to 500 million wearable devices being sold each year. If we look at IoT, this range of smart connected devices, broader connected objects beyond wearables, actually we see phenomenal growth in connected devices. We're seeing growth of up to 300% year on year. That's bringing a phenomenal increase in data that is being created. And what it's also allowing is the connection between those devices to enable new applications, new business models, which I don't have time to talk about today because we're focused on wearables, but if you do want to grab me during the evening session, then please do, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But actually the opportunity is huge in wearables, but massive in the Internet of Things, and this broader range of smart connected devices that is being connected to the Internet. So what is Intel's role within the wearable revolution? Anybody know what this is here? I guess a couple of the Intel folks in the audience will recognize that. That's actually a sketch of the 4004 microprocessor from 1971. Intel was one of the originators of an integrated microprocessor. And back in 1971, that was basically putting 2,300 transistors onto a die that's effectively the size of a fingernail. Okay, so 2,300 transistors that was enabling that microprocessor. And what we've seen is dramatic change over the years, of course. So time's moved on. What we now have is this year, if you think that back in 1971 it was 2,300 transistors on something the size of a fingernail, we're now able to put 1 billion transistors. That's 1 billion transistors on something the size of a pinhead. Okay, so you can see this dramatic shrinking of technology, and it's not a huge leap to recognize what Intel's role is within this marketplace. We're enabling great performance or stunning performance, lower power, and smaller packaging, and clearly we have a role to play, and it's of huge interest to us. That brings me on to one product that we announced at CES, which is Edison. And again, if you think about that shrinking of technology, the performance, the low power, but still enabling performance, low power, and shrinking product size. Edison, how many people have heard about Edison or know about Edison? Great, that's good. The message is out, clearly from CES. Edison is effectively a computer on a chip. Yeah, on an SoC. So what you have there is you obviously have the microprocessor, you have Bluetooth, you have communications technologies, power management, etc. And it is a solution as well. It comes with software, security, and what that's enabling is it's enabling a lot of wearable device development. So it's just a good example. It's if you like, it's a platform that we're bringing to the market that's going to help enable the wearables industry. And when we talk about shrinking yet further, I think in future years we can all get a sense of what is going to come in the future. We're going to shrink even further while still giving great performance and lower power. This is also going to be very low cost when it comes to market. Okay, so I can't give away the cost price, but it's coming to market later this summer, and it'll be very low cost, great performance, basically a computer on a chip, and low power. Okay. So again, just a good example of a product that Intel has already brought to market that's going to help to enable the wearable devices to develop and the ecosystem. And it's a solution, so it's the hardware, it's the software, it's security, all in that one platform. So again, just one example of something Intel's already brought to market, or we've already announced it comes to market late summer. Okay, it's going to enable a lot of wearable device innovation. One other thing we've announced is we've created a new devices group within Intel. The new devices group is led by a gentleman called Mike Bell. Mike is ex-Apple. Mike has recruited industry leaders. We've recruited people from Nike, from Oakley, so bringing in expertise from fashion, from sports, and from lifestyle industries. And that new devices group is really looking at what are those new devices that are going to become, if you like, the next large opportunities for microprocessor technology. And they're looking at wearable devices and a broader range of products for the future. So we've put that team in place, and you'll see some products already coming to market later this year that are coming out of that group. Okay, so two potential challenges that we see in terms of the wearable device, the wearable innovation. So the first one is integration. It's how do you get those capabilities down into something that's very small that's going to enable these different devices. That could be anything from clothing to, of course, wrist-worn, or a variety of other products that you might be thinking of in the future. The second one, though, is innovation around the device, the form factor, the design. So what we're doing at the moment, of course, on the first one, which is integration, building in the right technical capabilities into wearable devices. Clearly, that's something that Intel naturally would work on. But when it comes to the innovation piece, what are those devices? What are those types of products that people are going to want to build, develop, purchase in the future? That's the piece where we recognise that we need to be working with a broader range of partners that are maybe outside of our normal computing industry or tech industry, that does mean that we've got to go and embrace the likes of fashion and other brands that are maybe not your traditional tech brands. So what I want to do is I just want to talk a little bit about some of the key products that are on the marketplace and some of the innovation and development that we see. This is an obvious one. I think many people probably have or had the Nike Fuel Band. I think this is just a great example of the link into the cloud. The opportunity to connect, to share your performance data with your friends, through a nice user interface. And really, this is just a great example of a wearable product that's done reasonably well. And shows that people have been able to track performance data for some time, but really this was about taking that data, sending it up to cloud, sharing it, the social interaction, and a good example of the opportunity with linking into the cloud. This is another example which probably less of you have seen. This is the Mimo Baby. So this is a it's going to be a silly question really. Lots of people in the audience have children. Those that have will recognize this. This is a onesie. This is a onesie with sensors built into it. So you'll see, you have sensors here. The sensors are measuring temperature. and a variety of other indicators. And what you see here is with the turtle there, the turtle is a detachable turtle which has Edison inside. So that Edison computer, if you like, on a chip that I showed you earlier, similar to the size of an SD card, that's on the turtle design that you see there. Basically, when you attach the turtle to the onesie, the information about the baby in terms of, is it sleeping, is it overheating, is it moving, etc., has it woken up, is all being sent through that Edison turtle to your smartphone, to your tablet, to basically let you know about your child's movement and how your child is. Just one example of Edison being used and one example of wearable computing. It goes way beyond the classic devices that maybe you think about wearable computing today. The example we showed at CES was actually this Edison turtle would link into a milk warming bottle that also had an Edison product inside, so that basically the smart onesie would tell your bottle warmer when to warm up the milk because your baby is already waking. And that's without you having to take any action yourself. Just an example, but hopefully you get a sense that when we're talking about wearable technologies, we're talking about technologies that are way broader than perhaps, the classic products that are on today that maybe people are thinking about. So a good example and an example of Edison being used there. The other big one, and this is something that we are focused on, was really about the link between wearable devices and fashion. If you think about some of the wearable devices on the marketplace today, they're very much the early devices that are coming to market. I've had feedback from my wife as to whether or not she would want to wear that product. Some of the products that I would wear, she definitely refuses to wear. Yeah, I've had, so there's definitely a need, if you like, for the fashion world to come together with the tech world and come up with devices that people really want to wear. People are going to be happy to have them, and to display them and to wear them repeatedly. And something that I might wear could be very different from something that my wife would want to wear. And so there's really this huge opportunity and this need to merge both the fashion industry and the tech industry. We've already seen some fantastic examples of this, of course. And this one for me was actually quite funny, which is, a very early example was the Casio watch that you see down there. A very early example of perhaps, fashion and tech coming together. The reason I say that's funny is right now, retro is quite cool. Yeah, and actually there's quite a lot of people that would be happy to wear that today. But the other example might be, Beats is a great example of, Beats wanted to come out with something that was a fashion device or a fashion accessory and also a great tech product, and they succeeded in that fantastically well. The iPod was successful for very, very many reasons, but it's a good example of merging an MP3, with great design and, of course, other reasons why you would want to choose the iPod. But there's a need to embrace, or to get the fashion industry and the tech industry working together on this next range of wearable devices. And that's something that certainly post-CES we've seen a real explosion of interest, a huge amount of energy and creativity coming out of the fashion industry, and this merging, if you like, of fashion players and tech coming together to produce things that you really want to wear and you're happy to wear, or my wife would be happy to wear. Okay, so what we thought we'd do is just show a few examples of this. This is not designed to say, these are going to be big winners. But of course, one of the benefits of fashion is then you're really taking the technology and putting it against your skin, against your body. So that's able to really sense and track numerous pieces of data that are coming off of you. We wanted just to show a few fun ones. This is a fun one that was created. By the way, the reason why I'm just showing some fun ones is because it's all about innovation within this marketplace, and it's good just to show some examples and then maybe show some practical examples. But this is a mood sweater. Here, basically, it's doing something very simple. It's monitoring your temperature and it's telling people if you're cool, whether you're hot, and the change within your body. It's not going to be a massive seller, probably, not hugely practical, but an example again of fashion starting to embrace technology a little bit. Then we have some more practical examples. I mean, this is sportswear example, and you can imagine how putting wearable technology sensors, small products into clothing worn by athletes and people wanting to monitor their performance, these types of industries, how that could be something that would be very, very big. People being able to monitor their performance whilst actually taking part in sport, and of course the monitoring of athletes, which already happens today, but it's a little bit clunky. and the technology, in the future will be very nicely integrated into sportswear. And really, this is, there's so many opportunities for wearable technology and so many different innovations that you can come up with in different industries and across different brands. So just examples of that. This is clearly more practical than the Mood sweater, which I won't be wearing myself. Okay, and again, I just wanted to touch very, very briefly on privacy and security. And I mean very, very briefly, but happy to have a longer discussion about it if you like. So when we're talking about where could wearables go next, there's so many innovations, so many examples. I mean, the video I showed at the beginning just gave some examples. I mean, this is one here where basically, having a little device allows you to maybe log on to view your homework. If you're a school child, it's logging you into the cloud and authenticating you. Simple example. There's other authentication mechanisms, through having technology built into your clothing, built into devices, whether it be payment technology, etc. So many different opportunities. But of course, privacy and security is a significant issue. Like I said, we don't have time to talk about it today. What I will say though is, when Intel's bringing a platform to market, we're thinking about the hardware, we're also thinking about the software, and we're also thinking about the security. And we want to take a full solution to market with our partners. And happy to have a longer discussion about privacy and security if you like. I'm very nearly done. I'm conscious of time, but I'll put this slide in to basically say, who is actually going to help us in defining the next stage of wearable innovation? There's a broad range of developers. The ecosystem is exceptionally broad now, whether it be fashion companies, whether it be sports, leisure, etc. And we are actively embracing this broad ecosystem of startups, innovators, developers, and we want to work with you, and we want to certainly see what you're working on and then look to partner together. I'm going to come to the competition that we launched in a moment to try and get people to share their innovations and to try and stimulate more innovation within the wearables marketplace. But really we're looking to embrace this broad ecosystem, and like I said, it goes way beyond, if you like, our classic tech ecosystem, and we recognize that. We've already announced one partnership. We announced this at CES, so just a good example of the type of partnership that you might see from Intel. A little bit different from things that we've done in the past. So we did announce a partnership at CES, which was basically working with the CFDA, so the Council of Fashion Designers of America, working with Opening Ceremony and also with Barney's. And the idea there is to basically take the input of Opening Ceremony in terms of, from a design perspective, from a fashion perspective, what should we be developing for an end user? What do the end users want? And what do these experts tell us that we should be designing? And of course, with Barney's, we have a route to market. Barney's will take that product to market, and we'll then go and test those products once they're developed, and they'll come to market. So just an example of a partnership with the fashion industry, and you'll see more of those partnerships announced in the future. I can't talk in any more detail about that today. I also wanted to touch on the maker revolution. This is the maker revolution is the DIY community. This could be kids, students, people developing new ideas, often off the back of this type of board. This is an Intel Galileo board, and this is in a product that we've worked on in partnership with Arduino. And the reason I put this in is because the Galileo board, working with the maker community, is another example of how we're working with communities that are really looking to innovate and to develop new products and potentially bring them to market. I actually think this type of community, this maker community, could be coming up with some really stunning technology that could ultimately break into wearables. And we do have activities in place around the maker community off the back of the Galileo board. Again, if people would like to know about that, also grab me a little bit later and we can talk a bit more about that. Okay, so I'm nearly done, and actually I wanted to draw your attention to the Make It Wearable contest. Did I ask it earlier, how many people know about the Make It Wearable contest? Reasonable number, that's great. So basically, Intel announced at CES the Make It Wearable contest. The idea here is to get people coming up with new ideas. We've got 2 tracks within this competition. The competition will actually give out $1.3 million of prizes. So there's 2 tracks. Please grab one of these flyers, which are dotted around in the area over there. The first track is a visionary, if you like, a dream track. It's about, what are the sort of products that you could create. So a visionary track. And there we will have 5 finalists who will each receive $5,000. So that's really about, what could be possible. The second track is the build it track, the prototyping track. Here it's actually about, showing us what could be possible and actually building the prototype. There, the top 10 finalists will receive $50,000 and will provide mentoring to help get those products to market. The top finalists will receive $500,000. And we'll also get mentoring and we'll work with Intel to take that product to market. So the reason why we put this in place is we want to stimulate innovation within the wearable community. We want to get people thinking about what could be possible. We're at the very early stages of the wearable industry, so we want to get people thinking about what could be possible, and we want people to come and tell us, what could be built. And of course, from our perspective, we'd love to then build some of those products on Intel technology. So please pick up one of these flyers, when you're around the area at the back over there. So Make It Wearable is the competition. And then I am on my final slide, and I can see I'm about to get kicked off if I don't do it. So the final thing is, we really recognize this is a new ecosystem. We are actively looking to bring in designers, engineers, entrepreneurs, from a broad spectrum, a broad range of industries. This is not your classic, sort of tech industry looking to develop wearable products. We recognize this is an extremely broad ecosystem. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. That's one of the reasons why Intel is getting so actively involved. And, from a personal perspective, would love to speak with you later, give you my business card, and very happy to continue the discussion on any of those topics if you'd like to a little bit later. That's me done. Thanks very much.